This highlight of the moment has been brought to you by the National Advertising Challenge, where big brands get big ideas. Learn more at nationaladvertisingchallenge.com.
So, Ido, we talked about just briefly about the resurgence of New York in the early 2000s, I guess, and then using NYU downtown to be able to be part of that. If I remember correctly, didn't New York also want to push art as being the center of art for the world?
Yeah, so New York did many things. The most important thing that New York did was embrace its identity as a place of diversity and many, many offerings. So the Big Apple, if you may, which is the visual articulation of the brand, it represents, an apple. There's a reason why it's an apple. It's a very strong image for people who are people of faith. Comes in the Bible. The biblical story of Adam and Eve represents temptation. And so it's really about the good and the bad. It's about the totality of the New York experience. And so art is a big part of it, but also think about New York as the center of some of the most celebrated events in the world of marketing, from the Auto Show to Fashion Week, after 9/11, the Tribeca Film Festival. New York is a home of Broadway. I have friends in Nashville that told me that actually New York is bigger. The biggest country music market in America is actually New York. A lot of people don't think of New York as a place of country music.
I didn't.
But people tell me it's a huge market for country music, and so on and so forth. Jazz, of course, jazz. And then architecture and the academic power. The most brilliant thing that happened during my time in New York was done by Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg did something, again, a genius from a marketing point of view. In marketing, they teach you to look for your advantage, right? Your competitive edge. And New York was looking around and everybody was telling New York, well, you can't really compete with Silicon Valley. That's where all the technology is. That's where all the big banks are for. Michael Bloomberg said, no, on the contrary. I have the access to the banking. I have the access to the accounting. I have the access to all the legal services, and I have the access to all the academic institutions. I need to build New York as a counter balancing act to Silicon Valley on the East Coast. And he did. He did. Today, New York is as attractive as Silicon Valley for young entrepreneurs, if not more. I think he will be remembered for many, many things as a mayor. I think he was a great mayor. But this, to me, is just genius. Just the idea to compete with Silicon Valley and against it was counterintuitive. And I think that New York ultimately, once the world moves on post-COVID, New York and the greater New York area will be the greatest hub of technology in the world. There's no doubt in my mind. I see it already. Israeli startup companies are flocking to New York. Huge numbers. They prefer New York over Silicon Valley. And again, this is not to take anything away from Silicon Valley. During COVID-19, the big tech companies, it was reported in the Wall Street Journal, were renting or buying millions and millions of square feet in New York, in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, meaning the big tech companies are betting on New York. They realize today what Michael Bloomberg realized 15, 20 years ago, that New York is going to be the main place because of the free access, the easy access to money, to services that those technology companies need in their early stages.